The evening had started like any other diplomatic function on Vespera 4. The reception hall of the Terra Embassy glittered under the amber sky, visible through the crystal, reinforced ceiling panels. The building itself was a marvel of cultural fusion. Resilient Terran metal alloys interwoven with the sacred Varakan crystals that refracted the dying sunlight into kaleidoscopic patterns across the walls. Ambassador Nathan Reeves stood near the eastern window, observing the gathering with the practiced eye of a diplomat. Though only in his first month as Terra's representative on this contested mining colony, he carried himself with the quiet confidence of someone who had faced far greater challenges than mere political tension. Few knew of his military past, a history he had deliberately left behind when he chose the path of diplomacy. Ambassador, your security perimeter is adequate for now, but I recommend we move away from the eastern exposure. The voice belonged to Hera, formally designated as Temporary Watchman Nisa, according to Varakan military protocol. Though most Terrans used her given name, her moss-green skin caught the light as she moved, and her violet hair was pulled back in a tight, regulation knot that emphasized her amber eyes, constantly scanning, always alert. "Is there something specific that concerns you, Hera?" Nathan asked, taking a sip from his crystal flute, filled with the local fermented nectar. The Xyrus Corporation's regional director arrived with twice his usual security detail, she replied, her voice low. Such deviation from established patterns often precedes aggressive action. Nathan nodded, but made no move to retreat from his position. Perhaps they're simply nervous about the upcoming regulatory hearing. The evidence we've been gathering on their illegal mineral extraction. The explosion that cut off his words wasn't particularly loud. Plasma-based weapons seldom were. But the sudden disintegration of the eastern wall sent crystalline shards and superheated air blasting through the reception hall. Screams erupted as diplomats and staff members scattered, many diving for cover beneath tables and behind columns. Nathan didn't flinch. His posture changed instantly. Feet planted, body lowered. Eyes rapidly assessing exit routes and threat vectors with a precision that surprised Hera. This was not the stance of a career diplomat. "Embassy Lockdown Protocol Alpha," he commanded, his voice cutting through the chaos with unexpected authority. "All non-essential personnel to the shelter level. Communications team to secure channels. Security. Defensive positions at all access points." Hera moved to grab his arm. "Ambassador, my primary directive is to ensure your safety. We must evacuate you immediately to the secure bunker." What happened next would fundamentally reshape her understanding of her assignment, rather than complying. Nathan removed his formal jacket and loosened his collar. From an ankle holster hidden beneath his tailored pants, he withdrew a compact but deadly-looking energy pistol. "I don't run from fights, Hera," he said, checking the weapon's charge with practiced efficiency. "And I certainly don't abandon my people when they're under attack." Before she could protest further, 3 armored figures materialized through the breach, their tactical suits bearing the unmistakable insignia of high-end mercenaries, the kind only corporations like Xyrus could afford. "Ambassador," she began, the Varakan military protocols clear in her mind. "Protect the diplomatic asset at all costs." "That's an order, Watchman." Nathan cut her off, using her formal title. "I need you fighting alongside me, not treating me like cargo to be shipped to safety." The first shots from the mercenaries' weapons sizzled past them, melting portions of the crystalline column they had taken cover behind. Nathan returned fire with surprising accuracy, his shots finding the weak points in the first attacker's armor, where the joint mechanisms were exposed. Hera felt her world tilting. The man she had been assigned to protect, the diplomat she had dismissed as a soft-spoken pencil pusher who would need constant protection, was demonstrating combat proficiency that rivaled her own extensive training. Her orders suddenly seemed insufficient, perhaps even misguided. As the attack escalated, one certainty formed in her mind. Ambassador Nathan Reeves was far more than he appeared to be, and her understanding of her duty was about to undergo a profound transformation. "Elena, I need the internal communications back online," Nathan called out, as he moved with surprising agility between the crystalline columns that lined the embassy's main hall. Each column refracted light in unpredictable patterns, creating a disorienting effect that was hampering the mercenaries' targeting systems. Elena Santos, the embassy's communications engineer, was already working at a terminal near the western exit. Her fingers flew across the interface as she rerouted power. "Working on it, Ambassador. They've hit our main transmitter array, but I can bypass through the mining colony's emergency frequency if you give me 3 minutes." Hera watched the interaction with growing confusion. The ambassador was not only fighting, he was coordinating a tactical response with the precision of a battlefield commander. She fired a series of shots at an advancing mercenary, forcing him back behind a shattered serving table. "You have 2 minutes, Elena," Nathan replied, moving to a position where he could provide covering fire. "After that, I need you to redirect auxiliary power to the defensive shield grid." "The shield grid hasn't been operational since the last maintenance cycle." "I know," Nathan cut in. "But the central capacitors are still intact. They just need a power surge to jumpstart the system." Hera fell in beside him, her own weapon at the ready. "Ambassador, I don't understand. How do you know these tactical details? Your file indicates diplomatic service only." A hint of a smile touched Nathan's lips. "Files don't always tell the whole story. Watchman. Let's just say I've had experience in situations like this." Another mercenary appeared at the far end of the hall, this one carrying a heavier plasma launcher. Nathan reacted instantly, pulling Hera behind a more substantial column, just as a searing blast of energy scorched the floor where they had been standing. "These aren't common raiders," Nathan observed, his expression hardening. "Precise formation, high-end weapons, tactical discipline. This is a professional strike team." Hera nodded in agreement. "Xyrus Corporation's private forces. They must have discovered that we have evidence of their illegal operations, which means they're here to eliminate witnesses and destroy documentation," Nathan concluded. He tapped his communication device. "Corvin, what's your status?" A gruff voice responded, the distinct harmonic overtones identifying the speaker as a native Verican. "Forearmed and ready for action, Ambassador. I've secured the eastern mining access with the local workers. We've converted some excavation tools into makeshift barricades." "Good. Keep that exit route protected. If we need to evacuate, that tunnel system may be our best option." Hera looked at Nathan with new eyes. In less than 10 minutes, he had established a defensive perimeter, organized communications, and identified escape routes, all while actively engaging hostiles. This was not improvisation. This was the work of someone with extensive combat experience. "Ambassador," she said carefully, "I believe I may have misjudged your capabilities." Nathan fired 3 perfectly placed shots that disabled another mercenary's weapon system before responding. "Most people do, Hera. That's sometimes an advantage in my line of work." Elena's voice came through their communication devices. "Internal comms restored. I've also managed to access the security feed from the eastern perimeter. I count at least 12 more mercenaries approaching in tactical formation." "Can you identify their commander?" Nathan asked. "Affirmative. Facial recognition identifies him as Varlox, former Special Operations. Now, Xyrus Corporation's Chief of Security. He's wearing enhanced combat armor, military grade, not commercial." Nathan's expression darkened. "Varlox. I know the name. He has a reputation for thoroughness, which means he won't leave witnesses." Hera felt a cold certainty settle over her. "You've faced him before." "Not directly," Nathan replied, checking his weapons charge. "But I've seen his work. He doesn't fail assignments." A new voice joined their communication channel. Ambassador, this is Dr. Kell. I've secured the medical bay and converted some of our pharmaceutical supplies into defensive measures. The anesthetic gas can be repurposed through the ventilation system if you can lure the attackers into the central atrium. Good thinking, Dr. Kell, Nathan responded. Keep those preparations ready. We may need them for our fallback position. Hera watched as Nathan seamlessly integrated this new tactical option into his evolving strategy. His adaptability and command presence were remarkable. Traits she had been trained to recognize in the most elite Varakan warriors, not in human diplomats. Hera, Nathan said, turning to face her directly. I need to know where you stand. Your orders were to protect me, possibly even to evacuate me against my will if necessary. But I'm not leaving my people, and I'm going to fight. Does that present a conflict with your mission parameters? The question struck at the heart of her internal struggle. Varakan military doctrine was clear. The protection of assigned diplomatic assets took precedence over all other considerations. And yet, here was her asset, demonstrating not only the ability to protect himself, but also to lead an effective defense of the entire embassy. She hesitated, her training warring with the reality before her. My primary directive is your safety, Ambassador. But I believe that objective may be best served by fighting alongside you, rather than attempting to remove you from the conflict. Nathan's expression softened for a moment. Thank you, Hera. I value your skills far too much to lose them now. He checked his tactical display. Elena's data shows they're converging on the main entrance. We need to move to intercept them before they breach the inner security doors. As they moved through the embassy's corridors, redirecting staff to safer positions and establishing defensive choke points, Hera found herself reassessing everything she had been told about Nathan Reeves. The diplomat moved like a soldier, thought like a tactician, and commanded like a natural leader. May I ask you something, Ambassador? She said as they paused at a junction to check for hostile presence. Nathan, he corrected her. If we're fighting together, I think we can dispense with the formalities. Nathan, she acknowledged. Were you military before becoming a diplomat? His eyes met hers, and for a moment, she saw something dark and haunted there. I was special operations, assigned to conflict zones too politically sensitive for formal military intervention. And now you're a diplomat? Now I try to prevent the kinds of conflicts I used to fight in, he replied. I believe in diplomacy, Hera. I believe in words and negotiations and peaceful resolutions. But I've never forgotten that sometimes, when words fail, action is the only language left. Before she could respond, Elena's urgent voice came through their communication devices. Second breach detected. They've cut through the Western Service entrance. Security cameras show 5 hostiles entering the lower level. Nathan was already moving. They're splitting their forces to flank us. We need to consolidate our position. He tapped his communicator. Corvin, Dr. Kell, fall back to the central security hub. We're going to make our stand there. As they hurried toward the central hub, Hera realized that her mission had fundamentally changed. She was no longer simply protecting Nathan Reeves. She was fighting alongside him as an equal partner. The transformation felt both unsettling and strangely right, as if she had finally discovered the true purpose of her assignment. The security hub doors sealed behind them as they joined Corvin, Dr. Kell, and Elena inside the reinforced chamber. Tactical displays showed the mercenaries' methodical advance through the embassy. They're being thorough, Nathan observed, checking every room, securing each section before moving on. Looking for documents, Elena suggested. The evidence of Xyrus's illegal mining operations and weapon smuggling. And eliminating witnesses, Dr. Kell added, his 4-fingered hands adjusting the medical supplies he'd brought. The Varakan physician's crest fluttered with anxiety, but his movements remained precise. Corvin, a burly Varakan mining foreman with 4 powerful arms, each capable of independent action, was modifying mining tools into improvised weapons. "Let them come," he growled. "My people have suffered enough under Xyrus's operations. It's time they faced resistance." Nathan surveyed the room, assessing resources and positions. "Elena, can you access the environmental controls from here?" "Yes, Ambassador. Full control of lighting, temperature, and atmospheric composition." "Good. Dr. Kell's anesthetic compound might be our ace. We'll need to vent it through specific sectors to herd the mercenaries into positions of our choosing." He turned to Hera. "You know Verican combat tactics better than anyone here. How would you position our defenders?" The question caught her off guard. Throughout her military career, she had followed orders, not given them. Yet, here was Nathan, the very person she was supposed to be protecting, asking for her tactical input as an equal. After a moment's hesitation, she stepped forward to the tactical display. "The mercenaries are using standard sweep and clear patterns, but they're relying heavily on their armor's sensor suites. If we can disrupt those sensors—" She pointed to the crystal formations that were integrated into the embassy's structure. "These Veracan crystals naturally refract energy signatures. If we increase the power flowing through them, we could create sensor ghosts, false readings that would confuse their targeting systems." Nathan's eyes lit up with approval. "Brilliant, Elena. Can you reroute power to amplify the crystal resonance?" "On it," Elena replied, fingers already dancing across the control panel. As the group worked to prepare their defenses, Hera found herself watching Nathan with growing respect. He moved between tactical planning and hands-on preparation with fluid ease, equally comfortable discussing complex strategy and modifying weapons. There was no hesitation, no uncertainty, only the focused determination of someone who had faced death many times before. "You're staring, Watchman," Nathan said quietly as he calibrated an energy pistol beside her. "I'm reassessing," she admitted. "You are not what I expected, Ambassador." A faint smile touched his lips. "Few things in life are, Hera, especially in places like Vespera 4, where appearances are often deliberately misleading." Before she could respond, the security hub's sensors flashed a warning. The mercenaries had reached the outer perimeter of their position. "They'll be coming from both corridors," Nathan announced, his voice steady. "Everyone to your positions. Remember, we're not just fighting for our lives. We're fighting for justice on Vespera 4. The evidence we've gathered could end Xyrus Corporation's exploitation of this world." As they moved to their defensive positions, Hera found herself at Nathan's side. The protocol dictated that she should position herself to shield him from harm, but something in his posture, the readiness, the determination, made her reconsider. "I should be in front of you," she said, more to herself than to him. Nathan checked his weapon one final time. "No, Hera, today we stand side by side." The first explosion rocked the outer doors, and the battle for the Terra Embassy began in earnest. As plasma fire exchanged between defenders and attackers, Hera made a decision that would change the course of her career and her life. She would no longer simply protect Nathan Reeves as an assigned asset. She would fight alongside him as a comrade in arms. And somewhere in the back of her mind, a new thought took root. Perhaps there was more to this human diplomat than she had ever imagined possible. The mercenaries came in waves, their tactics evolving as they encountered the embassy's improvised defenses. Nathan had positioned Elena at the main control console, where she manipulated the environmental systems to create advantages for the defenders. Lighting would suddenly drop to create momentary blindness, followed by blinding flashes that overwhelmed the mercenaries' enhanced visual systems. The crystalline structures embedded in the walls pulsed with redirected energy, creating sensor ghosts that confused targeting systems. "3 more approaching from the eastern corridor," Hera called out, her weapon tracking the heat signatures on her tactical display. Nathan nodded, already moving to a position where he could lay down suppressive fire. Corvin, Dr. Kell, be ready with the barrier on my mark. The four-armed Varakan miner and the physician stood ready, beside a modified mining shield, its surface reconfigured to absorb energy weapons. As the mercenaries rounded the corner, Nathan fired a precise shot that struck a power junction in the ceiling. Sparks cascaded down, momentarily disorienting the attackers. Now, Nathan commanded. Corvin and Dr. Kell shoved the heavy shield into position, creating a barrier that blocked the corridor. From behind it, they deployed one of Dr. Kell's chemical compounds, a sticky, rapidly expanding foam that hardened almost instantly, sealing the passage. That won't hold them forever, Dr. Kell warned, his medical crest fluttering with exertion. The compound will begin to degrade under sustained plasma fire in approximately 12 minutes. It doesn't need to hold forever, Nathan replied. Just long enough for us to thin their numbers elsewhere. He turned to Elena. Status on the Western approach? Elena's fingers flew across the control panel. 4 hostiles advancing, using some kind of stealth technology. Our sensors can only get partial readings. They're deploying cloaking devices, Hera said, her expression grim. Advanced military tech. Definitely not something a corporation should have access to. Nathan's eyes narrowed. More evidence of Xyrus's illegal operations. They've been stealing military technology, along with exploiting Vespera's resources. He considered for a moment. Elena, the crystal formations in the Western Corridor. Can you overload them? Maximum energy throughput. I can, but it would likely damage the structural integrity of that section. Do it. The excess energy should disrupt their cloaking fields. As Elena implemented the command, the tactical display showed a sudden flare of energy. 4 previously shadowed figures became fully visible as their cloaking devices failed under the energy surge. I have them, Hera announced, already moving to engage. Her weapon discharged 3 precise shots, each finding its target with unerring accuracy. 2 of the mercenaries fell immediately, their armor systems overloaded. Nathan moved to support her, his own weapon adding to the barrage. Together, they forced the remaining mercenaries into retreat. They're falling back to regroup, Hera observed. Standard tactical procedure when encountering unexpected resistance. Nathan nodded. Which means they'll be calling in their leader. He turned to the group. Varlox will be coming personally now. He won't risk further failures. Is he really that dangerous? Elena asked, her voice betraying her anxiety. He's ex-military special forces, Nathan explained. Turned mercenary after a dishonorable discharge for excessive force against civilians. He's known for being thorough, brutal, and creative. He checked his weapons charge. And he'll have analyzed our defensive patterns by now. Corvin's expression darkened. My people have stories about Varlox. He led the suppression of the mining protests last year. 23 dead. Dozens more disappeared. Nathan's face hardened. All the more reason to stop him here. A sudden alert from the security system interrupted them. Multiple breaches were detected simultaneously, not just at their defensive perimeter, but throughout the embassy. They're changing tactics. Nathan realized. No longer a direct assault. They're trying to overwhelm our sensor grid with multiple small intrusions. Hera studied the tactical display, her military training recognizing the strategy. Distraction and infiltration. They'll send their elite forces, probably led by Varlox himself, through whichever breach we respond to least effectively. Elena's voice rose with alarm. Ambassador, they've breached the lower-level access to the secure vault. That's where we stored the evidence against Xyrus. Nathan's decision was immediate. That's our priority. If they destroy that evidence, everything we've done here becomes meaningless. He turned to the group. Corvin, stay with Elena and maintain our defensive position here. Dr. Kell, prepare medical support for potential casualties. His eyes met Hera's. Watchman, you're with me. As they moved quickly through the embassy's service corridors toward the vault, Hera found herself torn between professional duty and growing respect. Protocol demanded that she object to Nathan placing himself in danger. Yet everything she had witnessed in the past hour told her he was more capable in combat than many professional soldiers. "You should know," she said as they descended a maintenance shaft, "that my superiors in the Varakan Security Command would strongly disapprove of me, allowing you to lead this counteroffensive." Nathan paused at a junction, checking for hostiles before responding. "And what do you think, Hera? Not your superiors, you." The question caught her off guard. In Varakan military culture, personal opinion rarely factored into operational decisions. Orders were orders. Protocol was protocol. And yet, here was this human diplomat asking for her individual judgment. "I think," she began, surprising herself with the honesty that followed. "I think you may be better equipped for this situation than I am. Despite my training, your combat skills are exceptional. Your tactical awareness is superior. And your knowledge of the embassy's systems exceeds my briefing." A hint of a smile touched Nathan's lips. "That might be the most honest assessment I've received since arriving on Vespera 4. Before she could respond, the sound of plasma fire echoed from below. Nathan immediately pressed forward, his movement shifting to a combat stance that spoke of years of experience in close-quarters battle. They emerged into a wider corridor that led to the secure vault. 3 mercenaries were already working to breach the vault's doors, while 2 more provided security. Their backs were turned, attention focused on their objective. Nathan signaled silently to Hera, indicating a flanking approach. She nodded, understanding immediately. They separated, each taking opposite sides of the corridor, using the embedded crystal formations for cover. Nathan fired first, a precise shot that disabled one guard's weapon system. As the mercenaries turned to respond, Hera unleashed a barrage that forced them away from the vault door. The firefight that followed was brief, but intense. Nathan moved with a fluid grace that belied his diplomatic title. Each movement economical and precise. He didn't waste energy on flashy maneuvers or unnecessary risks. This was the efficiency of someone who had learned combat through real experience, not training simulations. Within moments, 4 of the 5 mercenaries were incapacitated. The 5th, clearly more experienced than his companions, took cover behind a reinforced column and returned fire with disciplined precision. "Vault breach specialist," Nathan identified, taking cover as plasma bolts sizzled past. "They always have the best training." Hera nodded her agreement. "Standard procedure would be to call for reinforcements. Then we don't give him the chance." Nathan reached into his pocket and withdrew a small device, a miniature EMP disruptor. Not standard diplomatic equipment by any means. "On my mark," he said, meeting Hera's eyes. 3, 2, 1. He tossed the device, which skittered across the floor toward the mercenaries' position. A brief pulse of blue energy erupted, temporarily disabling electronic systems within its radius. The mercenaries' weapon and communications went dark. Nathan and Hera moved simultaneously, converging on the position from both sides. The mercenary, trained for such contingencies, drew a backup weapon, a physical blade, rather than an energy weapon. He lunged at Nathan with professional precision. What happened next forever changed Hera's perception of the ambassador. Nathan didn't retreat or hesitate. He stepped into the attack, redirecting the blade with a forearm block, while simultaneously striking at the mercenary's exposed neck joint. It was a combat technique Hera recognized from advanced Varakan military training. Efficient, lethal, and virtually impossible to master without years of dedicated practice. The mercenary crumpled, unconscious but alive. Nathan immediately turned his attention to the vault door, where the breaching equipment was still attached. "They haven't gotten through yet," he observed with evident relief. "The evidence is still secure." Hera stared at him, unable to reconcile the diplomatic file she had memorized with the warrior who stood before her. "Who are you really, Nathan Reeves?" He met her gaze, and for a moment, the diplomatic mask fell away completely. Someone who learned the hard way that peace must sometimes be defended by force. Someone who chose diplomacy, not because I feared combat, but because I saw too much of it. Before she could respond, Elena's urgent voice came through their communication devices. Ambassador, multiple hostiles converging on your position. And there's something else. A new signal just entered the embassy perimeter. The signature matches known profiles for Varlox. Nathan's expression hardened. He's making his move. He quickly checked the unconscious mercenaries, removing their weapons and communication devices. Hera, we need to secure this position. If Varlox reaches this vault. He won't, she said with newfound conviction. We'll stop him here. As they prepared defensive positions in the vault corridor, Hera found herself watching Nathan with new eyes. The diplomat who had seemed like a burden to protect just hours ago was now the linchpin of their entire defense. Her mission parameters, so clear and unambiguous when she had received them, now seemed woefully inadequate to describe the reality of who Nathan Reeves truly was. And as the sounds of approaching mercenaries echoed down the corridor, Hera made a decision that would change everything. Today, she would not merely protect Ambassador Nathan Reeves as her duty demanded. She would fight alongside him as his equal. Protocol and orders be damned. Varlox arrived with calculated menace, his enhanced combat armor gleaming with a dull obsidian sheen that absorbed light rather than reflecting it. Unlike his mercenaries, who relied on overwhelming firepower, Varlox moved with the silent precision of a predator, each step deliberate and measured. Nathan and Hera had established a defensive position using overturned security consoles and structural elements of the corridor, creating a kill zone that any attacker would have to navigate to reach the vault. Elena had remotely activated additional security measures, periodic energy pulses through the crystalline formations that would disrupt targeting systems and communication devices. He's alone, Hera observed through her tactical scanner. No supporting units. Nathan's expression was grim. That's his style. He considers direct combat a matter of personal pride. His file indicates he's never failed to eliminate a target once he engages personally. Until today, Hera replied with newfound determination. Varlox stopped at the far end of the corridor, his helmet's enhanced sensors visibly scanning their position. When he spoke, his voice carried the artificial resonance of helmet amplification. Ambassador Reeves, your resistance is unexpected. Most diplomats would have retreated to their panic rooms by now. Nathan didn't rise to the bait. He remained in cover, weapon ready. Most mercenaries would know better than to attack a sovereign embassy. Varlox, Xyrus Corporation must be truly desperate. A mechanical chuckle emanated from the helmet. Desperate? No. Thorough. You've acquired evidence that would be inconvenient for my employers. I'm here to correct that oversight. By murdering embassy staff and attacking a diplomatic mission? Nathan's voice carried a controlled anger. That's an act of war, not corporate security. Semantics, Varlox replied dismissively. Once you and your evidence are eliminated, it becomes merely an unfortunate terrorist incident, regrettable, but ultimately forgotten. He took another step forward. I'll offer you one professional courtesy. Ambassador, surrender the evidence now, and I'll ensure your death is quick and painless. Nathan exchanged a brief glance with Hera before responding. I have a counteroffer. Surrender your weapons, and I'll ensure you receive a fair trial for your crimes against the people of Vespera 4. Varlox's response was a sudden, devastating attack. He deployed a personal shield that absorbed their initial defensive fire, while simultaneously launching a barrage of microdrones, tiny, weaponized machines that scattered throughout the corridor, seeking vulnerabilities in their position. Elena, Nathan called into his communicator. Electromagnetic pulse in the vault corridor, now! The lights flickered as Elena remotely triggered a localized EMP. The micro-drones dropped from the air, disabled. But Varlox himself seemed unaffected. His armor apparently shielded against such countermeasures. Military-grade protection, Hera observed, adjusting her weapon to a different frequency. Definitely not commercial technology. Nathan nodded. Another piece of evidence against Xyrus, if we live to present it. Varlox used their momentary distraction to advance, closing half the distance to their position in a burst of augmented speed. His armor's systems glowed with power as he activated offensive capabilities, wrist-mounted plasma projectors, and what appeared to be a gravitational disruption field. "Move!" Nathan shouted, pushing Hera aside as their cover was suddenly pulled toward Varlox by the gravity manipulator. The security console they had been using as a barrier flew across the corridor, smashing against the far wall. Hera rolled to a new position, firing a sustained burst at Varlox's legs, the standard weak point in most armor systems. But her shots dissipated harmlessly against his shields. Targeting the power distribution node on his back, Nathan called out, circling to find a better angle. "It's the silver module between his shoulder blades. If we can overload it." His words were cut short as Varlox suddenly charged, crossing the remaining distance with inhuman speed. The mercenary commander crashed into Nathan with devastating force, sending them both tumbling into the vault antechamber. Hera rushed forward, but a secondary shield deployed, cutting her off from the fight. She could only watch as Nathan struggled against Varlox's augmented strength, the mercenary's armored gauntlets closing around the ambassador's throat. "I expected more from someone with your file. Reeves," Varlox taunted. "Your combat record suggested a worthy opponent." Nathan's response was a sudden, explosive movement. He jammed his weapon directly against a seam in Varlox's armor, the junction between helmet and chest plate, and fired at point-blank range. The shot didn't penetrate completely, but it disrupted the suit's power flow enough for Nathan to break free. What followed was a display of combat prowess that left Hera mesmerized despite her desperate attempts to breach the energy barrier. Nathan fought with a combination of precision strikes and fluid evasion, targeting the armor's joints and power connections with expert knowledge. Each move was calculated, economical, and devastatingly effective. Varlox, despite his technological advantages, found himself increasingly frustrated. "Who trained you?" he demanded, as Nathan evaded another powerful strike. "Those are military combat patterns, special forces techniques." Nathan didn't waste breath on a response. He continued his methodical attack, gradually degrading the armor's systems. A strike to the left knee actuator, a precise shot to a cooling vent, a calculated blow to the helmet sensor array. Hera, meanwhile, had abandoned direct attempts to breach the barrier. Instead, she accessed a maintenance panel and began rerouting power flows, trying to overload the shield generator from its source. Inside the antechamber, the fight had reached a critical phase. Varlox, recognizing that his armor was being systematically disabled, activated his most devastating weapon, a wrist-mounted energy blade designed to cut through reinforced bulkheads. The air sizzled as the plasma edge materialized. "Enough games," the mercenary snarled. "You die now, Ambassador." The blade slashed toward Nathan with lethal intent. He barely evaded the first strike, the plasma edge passing close enough to sear his sleeve. The second attack caught him across the shoulder, cutting through fabric and drawing blood. Hera worked frantically at the maintenance panel, her fingers flying across the controls. "Just a few more seconds," she muttered, redirecting critical power flows. Nathan fought with growing desperation, the confined space of the antechamber limiting his mobility. Varlox pressed his advantage, his damaged but still formidable armor providing him with enhanced strength and protection. "Your diplomatic career ends here," Varlox taunted, driving Nathan back against the vault door. Your evidence dies with you. In that critical moment, Hera succeeded. The energy barrier flickered and died as she overloaded its power source. Without hesitation, she charged into the antechamber, weapon firing continuously at Varlox's exposed back. The mercenary commander turned at the new threat, his attention momentarily divided. It was the opening Nathan needed. He lunged forward, driving a small device, another EMP disruptor, directly into the damaged section of Varlox's armor and activating it. The effect was catastrophic for the advanced battlesuit. Systems failed in cascading sequence, servo motors locked, and power conduits overloaded. Varlox's armor seized up, becoming a rigid prison rather than an enhancement. Nathan stepped back, breathing heavily, blood seeping from his shoulder wound. It's over, Varlox. Your team is neutralized, and you've failed your mission. The mercenary commander struggled against his immobilized armor. Kill me then, he spat. Finish it! I'm not an assassin, Nathan replied, his voice steady despite his evident exhaustion. I'm a diplomat. You'll stand trial for your crimes against the people of Vespera 4. Hera moved to Nathan's side, her weapon still trained on Varlox. Ambassador, you need medical attention. Nathan nodded, the adrenaline that had sustained him beginning to fade. Secure him first. That armor won't stay disabled forever. As Hera applied restraints to the immobilized mercenary, she found herself reassessing everything she thought she knew about Nathan Reeves. The diplomatic file she had studied so carefully had mentioned nothing of his combat capabilities or tactical expertise. Elena, Nathan called into his communicator. Status report. The mercenaries are retreating, Elena replied, her voice tinged with disbelief and relief. Corvin and Dr. Kell have secured the main security hub. We're in control of the embassy again. And the evidence? Intact. All data crystals and documentation are secure. Nathan leaned against the wall, the strain of combat finally showing in his posture. Good. Contact Verican Security Command and the Terra Diplomatic Corps. Tell them we have evidence of Xyrus Corporation's illegal operations and their attack on a sovereign embassy. Hera finished securing Varlox and moved to examine Nathan's wound. This needs treatment, she said, her voice softer than she had intended. He met her gaze, a weariness in his eyes that hadn't been visible during the combat. Thank you, Hera. Not just for this, for believing in me enough to fight alongside me, rather than trying to evacuate me. She found herself unexpectedly moved by his gratitude. I was assigned to protect you, Ambassador. I simply adapted my methods to the situation. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. Is that what they'll say in your report to Verican Command? My report, she said slowly, will state that Ambassador Nathan Reeves demonstrated exceptional tactical awareness and combat proficiency in defense of embassy personnel and crucial evidence. It will recommend that future security protocols acknowledge his capabilities rather than treating him as a standard diplomatic asset. Nathan studied her face, seeming to recognize the significance of what she was saying. In Veracan military culture, such an acknowledgement represented a fundamental shift in relationship, from protector and protected to comrades with mutual respect. I would be honored by such a recommendation, he said quietly. As Verican security forces and medical personnel began arriving to secure the embassy and treat the wounded, Hera found herself standing beside Nathan as an equal rather than as his assigned guardian. Something fundamental had changed between them, a shift in perception that transcended professional duty. The diplomat she had initially dismissed as someone to be protected had proven himself a warrior worthy of respect. And in that realization, Hera discovered that her understanding of her duty had been transformed irrevocably. 3 days after the attack, the Terra embassy was still under repair. Crystalline shards were being carefully reset into the damaged walls, their natural regenerative properties accelerated by Veracan artisans. The eastern section, where the initial breach had occurred, remained sealed off, construction drones working tirelessly to restore its structural integrity. Nathan stood at the window of his office, watching the amber sunset paint Vespera 4's rugged landscape in warm hues. His shoulder was bandaged beneath his formal attire, a reminder of the recent combat. A soft chime announced a visitor. "Enter," he called, turning from the view. Hera stepped into the office, her posture as precise as ever. But something had changed in her bearing. She no longer carried herself with the cautious alertness of a bodyguard, but with the confidence of someone who had found clarity in her purpose. "Ambassador," she greeted him formally, though a hint of warmth colored her tone. "I've received my new orders from Varakan Command." Nathan gestured to a chair. "Please, sit. And I thought we had moved beyond Ambassador after fighting side by side." A slight smile touched her lips as she took the offered seat. "Old habits, Nathan. The formal protocols of Varakan military service are deeply ingrained. And yet, I suspect your recent report has challenged some of those protocols," he observed, taking his own seat behind the desk. Hera nodded. "It has. My superiors were surprised by my assessment of your capabilities. They had categorized you as a standard diplomatic asset requiring traditional protection protocols. And now? Now they acknowledge that you represent a new category altogether. A diplomat with combat expertise equivalent to our specialized security forces." She paused, seeming to choose her next words carefully. "It has resulted in a reassessment of my assignment." Nathan felt a momentary concern. "They're not removing you from your position, I hope?" "Quite the opposite," she replied. "I have been promoted to Senior Security Commissioner and given greater operational discretion. My primary assignment remains your security, but with acknowledgement that our relationship is one of mutual support rather than unidirectional protection." Relief and genuine pleasure showed in Nathan's expression. "That's excellent news, Hera. I couldn't ask for a more capable partner in this posting." "Partner?" she repeated thoughtfully. "That term would have seemed inappropriate to me just days ago. Now it feels right." A comfortable silence settled between them, broken only when Nathan rose to retrieve a data crystal from his desk. "The evidence against Xyrus Corporation has been formally presented to both Varakan and Terra authorities. The investigation is proceeding at the highest levels." Hera's expression darkened. "Varlox's interrogation has revealed disturbing details. Xyrus wasn't simply exploiting resources illegally. They were testing weapon systems derived from stolen military technology, using Vespera 4 as their private proving ground," Nathan confirmed grimly. "With no regard for the impact on local communities or ecosystems. The mining communities are calling you a hero," Hera observed, "particularly after Corvin spread stories of how you fought to protect the evidence that would bring Xyrus to justice." Nathan shook his head slightly. "I'm no hero, Hera. I simply did what was necessary." "That," she said with unexpected intensity, "is precisely what makes someone a hero in Varakan culture. Not seeking glory, but doing what is necessary regardless of personal risk." He studied her face, noting the genuine respect in her amber eyes. "Coming from you, that means a great deal." Another chime interrupted them. A priority communication from Terra Diplomatic Headquarters. Nathan activated the secure channel, and a holographic projection materialized above his desk. "Ambassador Reeves," the Terra Diplomatic Chief greeted him. "Your handling of the Xyrus situation has not gone unnoticed. The evidence you secured has exposed corruption extending far beyond Vespera 4. "Thank you, Chief Director," Nathan replied. "But the credit belongs to my entire team, particularly Security Commissioner Hera, whose actions were instrumental in preserving the evidence." The Chief Director nodded acknowledgement toward Hera before continuing. "In light of your exemplary service, we are offering you a promotion. A position has opened in the Interplanetary Diplomatic Corps as Strategic Security Advisor." You would work directly with our diplomatic teams in high-risk regions, providing both diplomatic expertise and security consultation. Nathan absorbed the news, aware of Hera watching his reaction. And my current posting on Vespera 4? A replacement ambassador would be appointed. We need your specialized skills elsewhere in the sector. After a thoughtful pause, Nathan responded, I'm honored by the offer, Chief Director. However, I would request one condition, that Security Commissioner Hera be assigned to the same posting if she wishes to continue our partnership. The holographic figure glanced toward Hera. Commissioner, would this arrangement be acceptable to Verican Command? Hera straightened in her seat. My recent promotion includes discretionary assignment privileges. If Ambassador Reeves accepts this new position, I am authorized to request continued partnership. Then, it appears we have an agreement. The Chief Director concluded. Prepare for transition within the month. Your new posting details will follow through secure channels. After the communication ended, Nathan turned to Hera. I hope I didn't presume too much. If you'd prefer to remain on Vespera 4... I wouldn't, she interrupted with unusual directness. My assignment is to protect you. Nathan, more than that, after what we've faced together, I find I have little interest in returning to standard security protocols with a different diplomat. A warm smile spread across his face. I feel the same way. We make a good team, Hera. More than a team, she said quietly. In Verican culture, warriors who face death together and choose to continue fighting side by side are considered kavashte, a bond deeper than mere comrades but forged in shared purpose. And in human terms? Her amber eyes met his. Perhaps something between partners and family. There is no perfect translation. Nathan rose from his desk and moved to the window, gesturing for her to join him. Together, they looked out over the rugged landscape of Vespera 4, its mining communities visible as clusters of lights in the gathering dusk. Whatever we call it, he said softly. I'm grateful for it. When I chose diplomacy over military service, I thought I was leaving behind the kind of connection that forms between those who fight together. Instead, you found it in an unexpected place, she observed. With an unexpected ally, he added, turning to face her fully. Something unspoken passed between them, an acknowledgement of the transformation their relationship had undergone. From protector and protected to equals bound by shared combat and mutual respect. Our new posting will likely involve similar challenges, Hera said after a moment. The Centauri system has its own corporate conflicts and resource disputes, and we'll face them together. Nathan replied with quiet confidence. A diplomat who remembers how to fight when necessary, and a security officer who understands when protection means standing beside someone rather than in front of them. As the last light of Vespera's sun faded from the horizon, they remained by the window, their silhouettes merging in the gathering darkness. Two warriors from different worlds, bound by a common purpose and an uncommon bond, one that had been forged in the heat of battle, but would endure long after the wounds had healed and the embassy had been rebuilt. For Hera, the transformation was complete. No longer was Nathan Reeves merely an asset to be protected according to rigid protocols. He was her partner, her equal, perhaps something more that neither Verican nor human language could fully express. And as they stood together at the threshold of a new chapter in their journey, one certainty remained. Whatever challenges awaited them in the stars beyond Vespera 4, they would face them not as guardian and ward, but as comrades whose trust in each other had been tested in fire and emerged stronger than ever before. 1 month later, a sleek diplomatic vessel prepared for departure from Vespera 4's orbital station. Its destination, the Centauri system, where tensions between mining corporations and indigenous populations had reached a critical threshold. In the ship's preparation chamber, Nathan adjusted his formal diplomatic attire, the insignia of his new position as Strategic Security Advisor gleaming on his collar. His shoulder had healed, though a faint scar remained, a permanent reminder of the battle that had changed everything. Hera entered, her Varakan security uniform modified to reflect her elevated status. The violet strands of her hair were still pulled back in a regulation knot, but a single, crystalline ornament, a symbol of distinguished service in Varakan culture, now adorned it. "The ship is ready," she announced. "Corvin came to say goodbye. He's been appointed liaison between the mining communities and the new ambassador." Nathan smiled. "A perfect choice. His experience with both the technical aspects of mining and the needs of his people will be invaluable. Dr. Kell sent this for you," she added, offering a small vial of iridescent liquid. "He claims it will accelerate the final healing of your shoulder tissue." "Please thank him for me," Nathan said, carefully pocketing the vial. "And Elena, has she decided whether to accept the communications position at Terra headquarters?" "She has accepted," Hera confirmed, though she extracted a promise that we would stay in contact. I believe her exact words were, "Someone needs to keep you two out of trouble." A soft chuckle escaped Nathan. An ambitious goal on her part. They fell into comfortable silence as they gathered their final belongings. The past month had been a whirlwind of activity, debriefings, evidence presentations, the formal charges against Xyrus Corporation and its executives. Throughout it all, their partnership had deepened, transcending professional boundaries without ever compromising their respective duties. "The Centauri situation will be complex," Nathan observed as they prepared to board. "Corporate interests, indigenous rights, territorial disputes, all the ingredients for a diplomatic powder keg. And potential violence," Hera added pragmatically. "The reports indicate armed factions on both sides." He nodded. "Which is precisely why they're sending us. A diplomat who can fight when necessary, and a security officer who understands the nuances of interplanetary diplomacy. We've become something of a specialized unit," she observed. "Neither fully diplomatic nor fully military." "Something new," Nathan agreed. "Perhaps the beginning of a different approach to complex situations on frontier worlds." They boarded the vessel together, side by side rather than in the traditional formation of security officer preceding a diplomatic asset. It was a small change, but symbolic of their transformed relationship. As they settled into the command deck for departure, Nathan turned to Hera. "Ready for our next challenge?" Her amber eyes met his, warm, with an emotion that would have been impossible for her to express just months earlier. "Always," she replied simply. "Together." The ship's engines hummed to life, propelling them away from Vespera 4 and toward an uncertain future in the Centauri system. But as the stars streaked past in the viewport, one certainty remained. Whatever challenges awaited them, they would face them not as protector and protected, but as equal partners bound by battle, respect, and something deeper that transcended the protocols of both their worlds. For Nathan, the former soldier who had chosen diplomacy as his path to peace, and Hera, the Varakan warrior who had discovered that true protection sometimes meant fighting alongside rather than merely shielding. Their journey was just beginning, a journey that would take them across the stars, facing dangers and diplomatic crises that would test their skills and their bond. But for now, as Vespera 4 receded behind them and the vast expanse of space opened before their ship, they were content in the knowledge that they had found in each other something rare and precious. A partnership forged in combat, tempered by mutual respect, and strengthened by the unspoken connection that exists between those who have faced death together and chosen to continue standing side by side. "Together," Nathan echoed softly as the ship accelerated to interstellar velocity, carrying them toward whatever awaited in the distant stars. "Always,"